All right. Hey, good morning and welcome to this Tuesday's edition of Mike Pillow's Real Estate Workshop webinar. Today we're going to talk about whether it's a good idea to sell right now or should we wait. So let's get right into it. Let me share my screen. Put my spectacles on so I can see what I'm doing. All right, here we go. All right. Sell now or wait. We're just waiting for the perfect time. These are some of the excuses I hear from sellers. We're just waiting for the perfect time to sell. I'm curious, when is the perfect time? Sometimes we're waiting for something perfect to come along and we miss what's right in front of us. Next one I hear a lot is we don't want to forfeit our low interest rate. And that one does make sense. Back in 22 and 23, a lot of people were enjoying a refinance of 3% and or some even under 3%. So that's a tough pill to swallow. If you're going to go buy a new house right now and you're selling your home that you're only paying 3% or less on interest, to assume a home with a loan that has anywhere from 6 to 6.5. But here's the thing: just like you refinanced back in 22 and 23 to lower your interest rate, when the interest rate does drop back down to a low rate like that, you could always refinance then. I guess the biggest question you need to ask yourself: are you waiting because it costs the money, or are you waiting and it's affecting your quality of life? Maybe your family's grown and you've outgrown your home. Does it really make sense to stay in that home over 3%? In some cases, it does. So if that is the case, then by all means, stay in that home. But if it doesn't, you know, I strongly suggest moving on. But anyway, and here's an oldie but a goodie. We're just testing the market. So many sellers think they're clever in testing the market. And what they mean by this is we're going to price our house extraordinarily high. We think our house is worth so much more than everyone else's in the neighborhood. And we think, in this case, a lot of people are still living off the 22 and 23 high prices. And they think they're just testing the market, and somebody's going to come along. Somebody, that needle in the haystack buyer, is going to come along and buy my house. Well, the truth of the matter is, while you're quote unquote testing the market, all you're doing is depreciating the value of your home. Because as buyers see your house on the market day after day, week after week, month after month, they're going to ask the question: one, it's obviously overpriced, and two, what's wrong with it? So while you're testing the market, you're putting a lot of questions in buyers' minds. So even when you do finally lower the price of your home to where it should be, buyers already have a preconceived notion that there's something wrong with your home, and any offer that you receive most likely will be under the market value. So testing the market isn't always the best strategy. I call that the hope strategy, and hope is not a strategy. All right. All right. So again, my name is Mike Pillow. I'm a realtor, Century 21 Homestar and the 21 Mike team. I serve Apple Valley Lake, Knox County, and surrounding counties in central Ohio. I go down into Columbus. I'm over in Licking County, Coshocton, Morrow County, Delaware, and I do so with great confidence because As many of you may already know, I just retired as a postmaster this past summer. Happy, happy. And I served as a postmaster in a lot of those areas. So even though I don't live in, say, Lewis Center or Powell or Coshocton, I served as a postmaster there, and I actually have more intimate knowledge of these areas than a lot of other agents that live right in those communities. So anyway, it's very easy to get in touch with me. You can give me a call or text at 740-504-6251, or you can shoot me an email at pillowdreamhomes@gmail.com. All right. Is the market right? This is the 2025 reality check for homeowners who are thinking of selling. Now, we can say that inventory is still limited. And I say that, in quotes, it's limited because I know when I'm taking buyers around, I'm finding a hard time finding a home in their price range that is valued at the price in which the home is being put on the market. In other words, if I'm looking for a $300,000 to $400,000 home, and I'm taking my buyers around to look at $300,000 to $400,000 homes, I'm actually seeing homes that are valued under $300,000, and my buyers have no interest in making an offer. That's why I say inventory is still a little limited. Yeah, you see signs everywhere, and you see the same signs that's been sitting there for week after week and month after month. So what's happening is the buyer's confidence is shifting. So even if your house is priced right, that buyer's coming in because they've looked at so many homes that are overpriced. They're coming into your home with that preconceived idea that, oh, it's just going to be another overpriced listing. That's why it's so important to follow my plan to prepare your house for sale, and we'll get into that later in the show here. Okay, interest rates have stabilized, but they're not dropping fast. What was it? About a year ago, they were what, 7.5? Now we're down to like 6.14 is the last I've checked. Now I haven't checked it in the last couple of days, but it's slowly coming back. And folks, we have to remember, 6%, 6.5%. Yeah, it's double what it was in 22 and 23, but those are some record lows. And the average interest rate is around 5 to 6. And I can remember back in the 80s when my parents were shopping for homes, and they were looking at interest rates 18, 19%. It was just crazy. So it's all relative, folks. Okay, sellers who price realistically are still seeing strong results. Like I mentioned before, many of these homes are overpriced, and buyers are getting smarter. They're educating themselves because they're not making offers on these homes that they can clearly see don't hold up to the value in which the seller's trying to get out of them. So they're educating themselves. So when they come into a home that's priced right, they recognize it right away and they're excited to put in an offer. And they also know that other buyers are thinking in the same mentality. And they may just put in an offer above asking price. That's an interesting thought. All right, in Apple Valley Lake, the demand for well-maintained lake homes, it remains to be steady. I'm seeing a fluctuation of these homes being maintained. I'm seeing a lot of homes that I don't know if they're short-term rentals that are starting to hit the market, or sellers have gotten complacent and they don't think that they need to do any kind of upgrades or remodeling to put their house on the market because they knew their neighbor couple, 3 years ago was able to sell their home. It looked much worse in just a day or two. I'm I still haven't exactly zeroed in what's going on. I think it's the latter. I think that sellers are just getting complacent. They think buyers are just going to jump on their home because they saw their neighbors do it a couple years ago. Folks, that's just not the case. Again, we're going to go over the Pill Precision Marketing Plan, get you straightened out here. All right, another thing we need to take a look at is the national trends versus local trends. We have to remember when you're watching the news that I don't watch, that national headlines, they don't tell your story. Because what's happening in one state it doesn't reflect what's happening in your hometown, your local market. And even in the state of Ohio, you have a fluctuation of markets. Columbus, there's a housing shortage in Columbus. Columbus is growing like the growth in Columbus is insane, and Intel hasn't even come to town yet. So of course that's driving the prices higher. Where if we go to Northeast Ohio, the Cleveland area, the prices have been pretty much steady over the last few years. You haven't seen too much fluctuation in prices rising. You know, even in Knox County, Knox County is going to be different than the surrounding counties because of job opportunities, interstate access. That's one thing that kills Knox County is interstate access, either direction, 71 or 70. I'm sorry, 71 or 77. It takes roughly a half hour, 40 minutes to get to an interstate. And that makes commuting into Columbus or Cleveland sometimes challenging. But even in a local market like my own here in Apple Valley, there's a difference between lakefront, lake views, non-lake views. And that's true in any community. So don't watch the evening news and think, okay, this is what the real estate market is like, because they're reporting into another state or a national average. Well, there again, national average. It's not happening in your neighborhood. The local market versus state and national could be completely different. Remember, real estate is hyper local. Apple Valley and Knox County are their own ecosystem. Where you reside is your own ecosystem. And you take a city as large as Columbus, there's a huge difference between north, south, east, and west Columbus and the surrounding suburbs. So don't rely on the news. Okay, the case for selling now. Why acting now might make sense. Well, current demand for quality listings is still higher than the supply. There's still, especially in the central Ohio market, there's still a high demand for quality homes and quality listings. I could have $1 million home. It's a quality home, but it might be a poor quality listing because it's listed at 1.7. You control the timeline and can negotiate from that strength. That's what buyers are starting to figure out. They can control their timeline. Sellers, you need to understand you control your timeline. First of all, it starts with finding a good educated realtor that understands your market and is going to position your home in a manner that's going to sell. They're going to price it correctly. They're going to market correctly, and they understand the market. Many times we are seeing, especially here in Apple Valley, we're seeing these Columbus, Akron, Worcester, Cleveland agents coming down here taking listings, and they don't have the first clue what Apple Valley is all about. They know nothing about our POA. They call it a HOA, but it's actually a property owners association. There's a difference. Um, they don't understand. They don't understand how the rules regarding sticking their sign in the yard. And this is the person that we're trusting to sell your house. Do your homework. Homes with updates and good presentations are selling well. Again, buyers are getting a little more particular about the homes that they're willing to put in an offer on. If your home sells, or if your home shows poorly, you're not going to get any offers. I just showed a home here recently, and as soon as you walked in, you smell animals. We pretty much walked right out. We are seeing homes with water damage. We are seeing homes that, and it's not on the disclosure forms. We're seeing homes that are in dire need of paint. God, folks, how hard is it to paint the interior of your home? Just showed a home that was recently just painted just awful colors. And whoever painted it did not use any paint tape or tools. There's all kinds of splotches and marks on the ceiling. It is, I mean, it's a telltale sign that your house isn't maintained. Go back to one of my webinars just a couple weeks ago, what your home is telling a buyer, and go back and watch that, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. Buyers are waiting for lower rates and may end up competing again when the rates drop. So just like sellers are thinking, maybe I should wait till the rate drops, buyers are looking at that too. However, there are times in our lives where making a move is necessary, whether it's for work, schools, whatever. So follow your home selling process. You control your timeline. You react in that manner. Okay, the case for waiting. Why holding off could pay off. Well, if your house is in major need of updates, it may take a few months to sell. I mentioned a few examples here recently, just like the picture on here. I mean, that's straight out of the Brady Bunch. It's 1970 decor, green shag carpet. How many buyers are coming in and saying, "Oh, this is beautiful. I like the Green Bay Packer color scheme paint on the walls there." And it's just because it's your style doesn't mean it's going to appeal to another another individual, to the buyer that you're trying. Paint your home neutral colors, light neutral colors. Light colors make the rooms look bigger. It reflects the light. It makes it look lighter, brighter, cleaner, and bigger. Neutral colors. Potential interest rates drop could bring in more buyers. So if the interest rate drops, yeah, you might be able to get more buyers. Again, I will argue that on both sides. I don't think we should allow the interest rates to be our deciding factor. If you're not emotionally or logistically prepared, don't rush to move. Oftentimes, you're not emotionally ready to let go of the home that you just raised your children. So subconsciously, you're not going to market it correctly, or you're not going to push it correctly, or you may overprice it just so it doesn't sell. If you're not ready to make that transition to the next step, it's best to be holding off. And trying to sell too early without a plan can cost you more than waiting. That goes back to the old test the market theory. All right, the cost of waiting. The waiting game does come with a price tag. Current demand for quality listings is still higher than supply. You can control the timeline, negotiate from strength. Homes with updates and good presentations are selling well, and buyers waiting for lower rates may end up competing again when the rates drop. So if you're waiting for all the stars to line up, you're just waiting for the competition to kick in gear. So, the buyers that are looking at your home may be looking at 3, 4, 5 other homes in the same community, and they're going to go after the best terms, which is going to force you to lower your price again. So the waiting isn't always the answer. The emotional factor. It's not just about the numbers. Sometimes the hardest part isn't when to sell, but it's why to sell. Are you selling due to downsizing, relocation, family changes? All these factors, they matter. And the right timing is the one that fits your life goals, not just the market stats. Again, put it back into your timeline, not what the market's saying. And my local take on the Apple Valley focus here, what I'm seeing right here at Apple Valley, those who waited are now trying to sell, are using old exhausted data, causing them to overprice, and their homes are sitting unsold on the market. It's devaluing their home every day it's sitting there. Lake homes, of course, they continue to sell as these homes rest in a unique market of its own. Even though it's the Apple Valley market, lakefronts are a completely different animal. They bring in different buyers, and quite frankly, it doesn't really matter what they're priced, because at this stage in the game, people buying lakefronts, they have excessive expendable income, so it doesn't really matter. All right, now given that your home shows well and is priced correctly, the lake lifestyle still sells itself. Even though the market's getting tougher, the lifestyle here at the lake still sells itself, but you have to price it correctly. You have to prepare your house correctly. So how to decide what is right for you? There are 3 questions that every home buyer should ask. What is my equity position today versus, let's say, 6 months down the road? And what will I do after I sell? Am I going to downsize? Am I going to go into assisted living? Am I moving out of state? Am I moving south? You have to have a plan. And what's my comfort level with waiting? Is it going to affect me financially? Or is it going to affect me emotionally? These are the things we need to sort out before you even make a decision whether to sell or not to sell. All right, so we talked about the Pillow Precision Plan. It's a local strategy that's proven to work. I have developed a plan that helps homeowners sell smarter. And that's the key, is selling smarter. I use a data-backed pricing strategy. I use professional presentations, and I use an aggressive negotiation strategy to get you the best terms possible. I want to help you see both sides of the equation before you make any kind of move. I'm going to be your advisor. I'm going to help you navigate the waters of buying or selling a home. And most importantly, I eliminate hope as a plan to get your home sold, because hope is not a strategy. I see it so often. We're going to stick a sign in the yard, and I hope somebody comes along and buys it for this price. That's a foolish way of trying to sell your house. Okay, and again, my name is Mike Pillow. I'm a realtor of Century 21 Homestar. I serve Apple Valley Lake, Knox County, and surrounding counties in Central Ohio. There's my QR code. Be sure to scan it. It's an opportunity to meet Mike. This QR code takes you straight to my video introduction, which is located on my YouTube channel, Lake House Fishing and Real Estate. And to receive your free personal seller stay market analysis, you can reserve your spot with no obligation and I'll come over and I'll review your property and your timing options. Sit down and discuss with you what you need to do to get your house put on the market and make sure the timing is correct for you. No pressure. I want to evaluate your goals. I want to evaluate your equity and your best moving strategy. And if it means waiting, we're going to wait. I'm on your schedule, folks, not mine. I'm here to help. I'm here to advise, not to get a commission. So book your private session by emailing me at pillowdreamhomes@gmail.com. Just simply input in the subject block private session or sell or stay. Put in there whatever you want. I can figure it out. But in the body, make sure you put your name, your phone number, and give me an idea when you may be considering making a move yourself. Folks, remember, my calendar's filling fast, so don't miss out on this opportunity to learn the strategy that will best position you to sell your home quickly and for top dollar. Again, my name is Mike Pillow. I'm realtor of Century 21 Homestar and 21 Mike Team. Contact me by phone or text at 740-504-6251 or email at pillowdreamhomes@gmail.com. And we end our webinar like we do every week, but this one with a little bit of a twist of sad news. Last week we lost one of our 21 Mike Team K9 division members, little Amos. Amos was my mom's dog, and when we lost her in 2022, we inherited Amos. You see on his back leg there, has a cast. As soon as we received him, he had an ACL tear. He also had diabetes. So my wife, Nancy, did a fabulous job extending his life and gave him 3 additional years. And we just lost him. I don't know why I put 19th. It should be October 10th. We had to put him down on Friday, October 10th. He was 14 years old and 8 months. So rest in peace, Amos. And on Amos's behalf and the rest of the 21 Mike Team, remember, you're not the only one looking to make a move. You're not the only one looking for a home. Be sure to go to your local dog shelter and adopt your new next best friend today. Till next week, you have a good day. Thanks. God bless.